In the name of Allah, in last session we spoke about PHP file handling and PHP file write and also file read. Actually it was file reading. File reading or function of read file. How we can read or open a file in our website using the read file. Today we will speak about file open and read. One was read file. Then we will have open, read and close. File, open, read and close. For opening files, we have fopen function. Fopen or file open function. A better method to open files is with fopen. Read file also opens a file, but we can use the fopen file also. This function gives you more options than the read file function. So again we will have the web dictionary file and we will be using the fopen to open and read this documents that we have in our web dictionary.txt in our main folder of project. So the first parameter of fopen contains the name of the file to be opened. And the second parameter of specifies in which mode the file should be opened. The following example generates one. So we have two parameters for fopen. First one, the name of file that we want to open it. Second one, we have the method of opening, in which mode we should open it. For this we have some texts. Or first one, open a file for read only. If we put the second parameter or in the small caps, it means we only open it just for reading in read only mode. In read only mode, file pointer starts at the beginning of the file. If we have a file that contains multiple pages, it will start from this first page. From the first page. The second parameter or the second mode is W. Opens a file for write only. Open a file for writing only. Erases the contents of the file or creates a new file. If it doesn't exist, file pointer starts at the beginning of the file. So if you open it in a W mode or write mode, what it means, we are actually erasing the file or creating a file if file doesn't exist. A file doesn't exist. We are creating that file. Another is the A. Again, it's a file for write only. The existing data in file is preserved. File pointer starts at the end of the file. So W is also for write only. A is also for write only. But W erases the file. A doesn't erase. Okay. Check the. So the difference between the A and W is A doesn't erases the file, but W erases the file and also creates a new files. X creates a new file for write only. Return false and error file already exists. When you are putting X, it means you are creating a new file and for writing only. But if the file exists, it will return false. It will return false. If the file you are mentioning it already exists. Another is OR plus, read and write. OR plus, read and write. And also W plus, A plus and X plus. We have combinations of them. So the single one without the pluses, we just read, we just write and erase, we just write and doesn't erase. X read, create new files, and also the writes and also our write plus or L plus. We have read and write. The W plus read and write, but also erases the file. Erases the file. A plus.
Which one is better, teacher? And also which one?
Depends on which condition you want. Depends on your goal. Why you want to use. It's not the speak of which one is better. we have different modes. We are reading different modes. Then you decide in which mode you want to open a file. You want to only reading, or you want to write only. Sometimes if you go on CMSs or websites, they open a web file. You upload your file, your CV. It just displays to you. It doesn't allow you to back edit it. But in some websites like the CV makings, you upload your PDF, then it allows you to create a new file according to your file or edit your file. So it's up to you how you want to use. You want to use it for reading only, for writing only, or for writing and preserving the already text exists, or you want to create a new file and write it, or you want combination of them. You want combination of them. Write is for read and write. R is. W is for read and write, but it is files. A is for read and write, but the existing file is preserved. And it starts at the end of the file. And X plus is for creating a new file. So let's copy this code and open our file. So just this section, for time consumption, I will explain it. Let me open Visual Studio Code, the class project. Still blanking? Maybe it's problem of the cable or something else, but I don't know what. I think it's attached correctly. Doesn't have any problem, but maybe there's problem for this. So it's still blanking. So let's copy this one. So we have a variable, that's my file. We have a variable that is my file. Then we use the fopen. We require a file name. Our file name is webdictionary.txt that already exists. Exists. Then the mode is an R mode, read mode. And we just use it or die unable to open file. If the file doesn't exist, it will say open file failed. Any message you want. Then we read that. Echo fread. Then our stream, which one? We want to open the my file. My file that contains my text. Contains my file that's webdictionary.txt. The length is file size webdictionary.txt. Any length that has. Then we close the stream using the fclose. Just save it and head up to your browser on your repository and check it. Now we have our file. This was from our last session. This text that we used the read file function, and this one is from our current function. This one is from our current function that goes up to here. Why in footer? I don't know why it comes to our footer, but it's the file text. So another is the read file. So let's open with W in mode of W. So now refresh it. Now it says the fread has an error, uncaught value error. The fread argument number 2 len must be greater than 0. Must be greater than 0. The read file needs a file size that's greater than 0. Now our file is erased. See, we don't have anything. Our file is erased. Why? Because we don't have anything on this. We just deleted that. Why? Because we used the W. We used the W. Let me copy paste the text again on it and use the another section. So save. Now we want to use the A mode. A mode. Now refresh it. Now it says a read file of 8100 bytes filled with no but file description in this one. But file description. The file has a bad description. We need to write something. Now our file doesn't delete it. Already exists. If you open it with read plus or write plus and a plus, maybe a plus we won't see any differences because we have this data. Now we are in read and write mode. We are in read and write mode. You can write on your file anything if you want. Another is the x plus. X plus creates a file. A file already exists, it will return false. It will return false. Now it says if open web dictionary or dictionary failed to open stream file exists. File already exists, unable to open file. When you are opening an x plus or x mode, it creates a file. So our file already exists. We can change this one to maybe to this just for testing. Now we says that our file has a value less than 0. Less than 0. Why? Because this file that's already created doesn't have any data. We just created a file. We just created a file. We didn't do anything. We just created. So the next function is read file. If read, we are already using this one in here. If you check, we are using the if read, opening a file, reading a file. The if read function reads from an open file. Reads from an open file. File should be already opened in the server. File should be opened in the server. The first parameter if read contains the name of the file to read from it, and the second parameter is the maximum number of files to read. Here, why we mention it our file itself? Because we don't know the size that it has, but we say that the file size of this dictionary. We used another function that's the file size. A file size. It will return the size of this file. It will return the size of this file. Why? Because if read wants first one, the opened file, the second parameter, the size of file. How many bytes should be read? So on that time, you need to use the file size and the size of the file you have opened. The file is open and if open, we open this file. We open this and if open, then we read this using the if read. It requires an stream. If you check, the if open requires a file name. If I zoom this one, zoom it too much. The file if open requires a file name, but if read wants an stream. It needs a stream. Why stream? Because it opens only it reads only the opened files. The file should be open in the server. We open the file and if open. Then we read this using the if read function, and then we get the size using the file size function. Using the file size function in here, if you check if read and then the file size. Another is PHP close file. So we read it here, then we close it. The stream should be closed. Why should we close this one? Because we release the reserved resources in our server. When you open a file, it takes some memory, it takes some storage and also traffic. So then we need to close this one. We need to close this one. That's why we use the if close function. As it says, the close function is used to close an open file. It's a good programming practice to close all files after you have finished with them. You don't want an open file running around on your server taking up resources. This is the reason why we use the if close. Why? Because we manage our resources. We do a memory management. We do a memory management to release our resources. Because when you open a file, actually we reserve some resources. We reserve some resources. Then we release those using the if close. The if close requires the name of the file or a variable that holds the file name we want to close. The if close requires a file name or a variable that contains our files. Yeah, you can go out and sleep on the everywhere else rather than the class. In PHP class, always your sleep. I see. I remember this. So always, yeah. The if close is required. Why required? Because we need to release our resources. So create some more spaces in our server for more files. Then if you open a file and read that file, then at the end you should close that one. You should close that one. So another is PHP reads single line. So this was this fread, fopen. These functions were for reading a file. Now we need to read lines. For reading lines, we have fgets. Fgets. F is the extension for file. So file gets. The fgets function is used to read a single line from a file. Used to read a single line from a file. So we have an example here. The my file, if open web dictionary or unable to open file, then we read a fgets using the my file. And instead of reading whole page, we can do fgets. So let me comment this line. You can use the echo fgets. Then your variable that contains your file. The variable that contains your file. Now it is line by line. Now it is line by line. Oh, the text should be NA plus or R plus. Why NA or R plus? And also we need to add some text here. We need to have some text here. Now we can read. Now we are reading a line that is asynchronous JavaScript and XML Ajax on first line. It takes our first line. So after a call to fgets function, the file pointer has moved to next line. We open to next line. So how we open it next line? See, we have a line that's synchronous and XML. Another line we have another thing. So we get those line by line. Now we have Ajax and XML. The same way that we use it as well. So yeah. Another thing is PHP check end of file. FEOF. File end of file. Check end of file. The FEOF function checks if the end of file has been reached. Check if the end of file has been reached. Sometimes you have a book and you want to open it on your website. Instead of allowing to download to the user, you open that on your website. Then if the file reaches at the end, you should print something that the file ended or the file reached to the end. And also the FEOF function is useful for looping draft data of unknown lengths. Sometimes you don't know how much length your data has. On that time you can use the FEOF if the function reaches the end or not. So there's the example. While not FEOF my file, echo if gets my file. So now if you see, we got only one line. Yeah, we got only one line. But why? Because we said if gets only gets one line. Displays one line. So for looping this, we need to use the FEOF or file end of file. File end of file function. Then we can loop that. Simply just put this one on your code. It will display all the lines. It will display all the lines. We said what? File, not file end of file. The file has not ended. Until the file has not ended, you should display the fgets using the fgets. Now if you check this one, reload. Now we have all of them. We have all of them, but there is an error. The error is that why our data gets included not at the end. There is some error that I need to test this one because it printed everything to me, but the footer is still at the top. The footer is still at the top. I think it's not closed. Let me check the footers file. I think it's not closed correctly. Div. I need to close one more div. There's some error. You can check for console. The error is that type error. Chain is not set. We have lots of errors on our file. The attribute is not defined. So that's no problem. That's because we have the same file. Container float. Then that one should be inside the root file. This file. So that's why, because we don't have a div here, we need to have this one inside the div to manage our page. So that's because we don't have this inside our div. It goes up to the footer section without preserving this footer section. So it loops until feof file, loops until end of file, loops until the end of our file. And also you can read single characters. You can use read the single characters. That will come on next day, inshallah. Today it's enough. So any questions up to here? Nothing? Everything clear? So for Thursday, the last day for your presentations.
Teacher, in some file website we see the file, we can write file and also we cannot download the file. We can write, so we can.
Yeah, that's why we use these modes.
Which ones?
If you see that, it says create a new files for write only. Create a file, new files for write only. Creates a file for just for writing, not for reading. Not reading, not downloading. The download is another method that they doesn't allow you to download it. You learn it on HTML, I think, but you can check on HTML, and then